Hello everyone, and this is Fisherman's Village Broadcast Happy Hour, and we're here at Shack Arts Center in downtown Everett, and this is sponsored by Tito's Vodka and Elysian Brewing, and I'm here with the excellent Naked Giants. Yay!
Hello, we're here.
Man, these guys are great.
Hey!
So thanks you guys for performing. You guys are so killer, just amazing.
Likewise.
Every time.
Yeah.
And I want to start, it's not your beginning, but maybe selfishly the beginning from when I've heard of you guys, which was Sound Off competition, which you guys did awesome at.
Mm-hmm.
And later you released Slough, which is an excellent first full-length record.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, like, what has since Slough came out 2 years ago, what has the last 2 years been like for you guys?
It's been a lot. Well, it's been a lot. We did a lot of touring. I feel like we were touring for like maybe 9 months out of each year, which is pretty intense. Yeah. And that's kind of the only thing I can really remember out of the past couple of years.
You lose track of time in that way too. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's been really interesting. Like we finally had a break before the Rona hit, and now it's an extended break. But I think it's a good opportunity for us to just kind of work on our personal lives and hone the craft, as opposed to like working on performing, to work on making music ourselves, because I think that's really important. Especially I've noticed, just to go on a tangent, in these times, like music that is without purpose or like without intent is not as appealing, because there's so much importance going on that it's like having a song that's just like a song is not gonna cut it anymore. Yeah. Like, you need to have some intent and some real feeling. So I think that's kind of what I've been focusing on, at least.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, because the touring brought about a lot of like this kind of professional discipline, I guess. As much discipline as like being in a fun party rock and roll band can give you. But like alongside that, I think we've definitely gone through a lot of like this deep kind of inner work and personal growth, which is kind of like what our newest album, The Shadow, is about. Because, with Slough, we were just like, we were 19, like we were recording an album for the first time. And it was just this like super exciting time, but we also had no idea what we were doing. So we just kind of like threw everything we had as like anxious 19-year-olds into that record.
Well, to not know what you were doing, I mean, that's a great record.
Well, we had a lot of help. Like Shay, our manager, and Jess, who was our manager at the time, but is like a forever manager. They were with us like from such an early time, and then we recorded with Steve Fisk.
That goes back to Sound Off. That's where we kind of got our start with Jess.
Yep.
And that was kind of Ben London, actually, who you know as well, recommended us to Jess because he saw the Sound Off and was like, maybe you'd be interested. So we definitely have a lot to be grateful for in like the Seattle community, for giving us the opportunity, and also just helping us as young dudes. Mm-hmm. Without that help, we'd probably just be like playing in basements and doing that whole thing with masks on now.
So, masks on in the basement. So, and you guys toured with Car Seat Headrest, which, funny story, I met the drummer by mistake.
You didn't want to meet him.
It was just, I didn't know who he was. And I was sitting in for a friend of mine, and he shared the practice space, and he was like getting his drum, whatever.
Oh yeah,
and,
that crybaby.
Yeah, and he was saying, I was like, oh, what band do you play? And he said, Car Seat Headrest. And I was like, what? And he's like, Car Seat Headrest. And I'm like, I couldn't say it for some reason. I was like, and then they just like became this like really huge band. And I was like, oh, car seat headrest.
Yeah, that's a pretty good time
I was
twister.
like, what a
It's
name!
a ridiculous name.
There was a back line for we played in at Primavera with them, and the back line that was provided for the show had all this gaff tape on it, and on it was written "car seat headset"
Yeah.
or "car set headset."
Car headset.
And I was giving Andrew a bunch of crap for that for a while. How's car set headset going?
And you guys got to play. You got to open for them on this tour, but then you also were a part of
Oh yeah.
bands. Like
That's
that's
where the professionalism came in,
amazing.
Gianni was referring to.
Right.
We had to really be on our game, which was great.
Yeah, and I mean, I was reading your bio about like, yeah, the experience of not only like playing your own set in front of these crowds, but then like getting to be part of the headlining performance. So like taking a break for 10 minutes and then being a headliner.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What is that like? That's incredible. And how did that start? Your collaboration with Car Seat Headrest.
Well, to touch on the first thing you said, which was, oh no, I can't remember what it was.
I guess like what that was like.
Like to
To
play
do-
and then take a break.
To play and then take a
Yeah.
break. Oh, I was just gonna say, because you go to see a band play, the headliner, and then you see the opening band, and I'm in the audience as I'm growing up, and I'm thinking, they're probably pretty chummy with them. Usually the headliner will come on and say, hey, and give it up for the openers. Like they're really sweet people. They're really nice. They've been great on this tour. And I think it was really interesting and fun to be a part of like the, hey, and give it up for the openers. And we really dig them. So we're playing in a band with them. We actually rehearse together and do all this stuff. So for me, like being a player in that band was like so fun because it was like, yes, this is what like this is such a fun way to do a show. And I think on tours before that and after that, speaking of which, we usually try and do a song with whoever we're playing with, at least, right? And we did that with
With the Black Tones.
Black Tones. I'm
Black
trying to remember.
Sabbath.
Yeah, with Black Sabbath. I was trying to. Yeah, the
Don
song.
Richards played a clip of that because a
No
listener
way.
sent it to him because I was talking to John on air about it. 'Cause
From
he played
Spokane?
War Pigs. Yeah.
What?
No, I think from
Vancouver.
Numos.
Was it?
Oh, yeah, that was-
Did we
yeah.
do it a couple times?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so a listener
Is that War
sent him a
Pigs?
clip,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he played it on the air like 2 days ago.
So sick.
No
That's
way.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's rad.
Oh,
That was
man.
so fun.
That was.
Yeah. I actually did end up getting the flu that Spokane show.
Oh,
I got the
that's
flu
right.
the next
yeah.
day.
Did you?
Yeah.
I hope
we
I didn't
drove
give it
back.
to you.
It was horrible.
Mhm.
Oh my
I didn't
God.
know where I got it. I was like,
I probably gave it to you. I'm sorry.
Oh,
did you
yeah.
have it during the?
Well, no, I didn't have it then. I got it like right after that. So who knows?
Yeah, I got it
Chicken or
like
the
we were
egg.
driving home, and I was like, why can't I focus?
Mhm.
when
It
I
was
feel like I'm gonna
awful.
die?
We were on tour and
I
it
had
was
the
the
flu.
polar vortex. Do you remember when it was that cold?
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah.
And so it was like, not to like cry my own river, but it was like we were going across, it was like -20,
Mhm.
and I was in the back of the van,
So,
like your little
sweating. It
Yeah.
was terrible.
Yeah. Well, Grant and I got the flu in Spokane.
In Spokane.
so-
Anyway,
That's
I
a thing.
think
Yeah.
good memories.
Yeah, that was good. I remember I had blisters on my fingers for that set, and I was bleeding everywhere, like at that Spokane show, like by the end of the set. Funny.
That
and
was
then
a rigorous.
Spokane was great.
Yeah, rigorous
post
tour.
appendicitis.
The
That
black
was the
bottle,
first.
what's it called?
Oh,
The
yeah.
bottleneck? The bottle? No, that's not.
That's in Lawrence. I know.
That's something or
Oh, whatever.
It was a good show though. Good set. And then speaking of sets, car set headset, we met them in a teen center called Ground Zero, which is on the east side on Lake Hills Boulevard off of 148th, if
think it's
anybody
closed.
knows Bellevue. It is closed now. But it was kind of like a boys and girls club sort of deal. And they would do everything from like community dinners to screen printing. And so kind of like a Vera situation on the east side. And I remember just growing up and being in high school at Mercer Island, and it was like anybody in a, in an indie band or in a rock band or anything, it was like you'd get your first show at Ground Zero, which is why it was called Ground Zero, I think. So I was doing a show actually with my buddy named Henry Mansfield. So we were both named Henry, so that was fun. And then
Henry Square. Jones.
yeah, it was always it was Henry squared. And then so their guitarist Ethan Ives was just opening solo acoustic, and then I went on with Henry, and then Will went on with Andrew and their old bassist. And then that's where Ethan met Car Seat Headrest, and then he would join the band at that show. And then I also met Will there, and he came to our show at the Redmond Town Center the next month. I said, hey, I'm in a different band called Naked Giants. We're playing at this other teen center. You should come see. And then we played shows together.
Nice.
That's so crazy. I didn't know Ethan met them there.
Yeah, it was at that
Opening
show.
for that same show. That's really
Nice.
insane.
And Ethan and I went to Bellevue College together, and we never talked, but he was always in the quad with a black acoustic guitar, lefty, in his leather jacket, just playing like in the freezing cold some days. I'd just be like, man, that guy's just on the quad, the Bellevue College quad.
Wow.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was a good.
That's some Seattle serendipity.
Really?
Right?
Man, that's wild.
Yeah.
None of this would have ever happened.
I know. Well, geez, we are on a river. We are on a winding
Small kayak.
road of time.
One thing I really admire about you guys, and I put up there, nice people. So what I really admire about you guys is how nice you guys are. Like you're approachable. You're very nice people. Which could easily be someone can see you and see a performance of you, and they could be like intimidated, like, oh my God. But you guys are very welcoming and just very sweet. And it's one of the things that attracts me and my brother to you guys, is just how nice of folks you all are.
We learned it by
And-
watching you.
Yeah, feel the same. I was gonna say, feel the same about you, with you and Cedric.
And what's that? And it comes out in your shows. I remember at Chop Suey, we opened for you guys, and you guys went on. You guys are so rock and roll, and then in the middle of the set, Gianni goes, "Is everybody doing okay? Does everyone feel all right? And anyone who wants to be like knocking up against each other, did you ask permission?" Like just this, like I'm like, yeah, wow, you know. And that's a really great characteristic that you guys have, is just like making your shows as rock and roll as they are, like safe spaces. And that's more of a comment. I don't really have a question for you guys,
well,
but
thanks, Eva.
I think
That's great.
it's important for people to know that about like a kind of wild rock and roll band. Like that's admirable. But let's talk about the Shadow.
All right.
How does it feel to release that? And during these times, and when you originally planned on releasing it, what was the outcome you were expecting?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. For us, like, it was a big step. It was kind of like, and I guess this kind of ties in with your comment, is that like, you know, having done so much touring and like playing a bunch of shows and meeting such awesome people from such a young age, we kind of really got to see the importance of that kind of stuff, of like checking in and like using whatever sort of powers it is or privileges that it is that we have to make sure that other people like have this space that they feel safe, right, and included. And at the same time that growth and like recognition of our place in this world is going on, we're going through this musical growth that we've been talking about. And I think The Shadow is kind of this catalog of all that going on. There's a lot of like anxiety in that album, but there's a lot of like just a deep desire to get to some sort of truth, right? Like opening up that anxiety, whether it's about, you know, the song Television on that album is about like overstimulation from the media and like seeing, you know, such heavy tragedy and such like banal memes, like just kind of one after the other, and just, you know, exploring that and all that kind of stuff. And then of course we recorded it last November, and we were super happy with it. And then COVID came, and quarantine happened, and it was kind of like, oh, well, now we have no idea like what to do about anything. So we've been really fortunate to have our label, New West Records, who have been like super accommodating and I guess not only accommodating, but very like they've given a lot of guidance on that because like they know how to release a record, even if it's in such an unprecedented time. And yeah, I guess that's kind of like that brings us to now.
And
Yeah.
Chris Funk produced this record of these Decemberists. I always have a hard time saying that. How did you guys connect with him?
Just through New West. They Kim, who's our A&R rep there, who we have a good relationship with, has a nice list of producers. She thinks about who would fit best. And so she sends us a list for Slough as well. There was like a list. And it also, you know, it's up to us at the end, but it's a good back and forth. And so she recommended Chris. And we just were like, yeah, Chris is great. He'd be like with his dog Pangu, his little black dog, so cute, smoking his pipe. Smoking not a marijuana pipe, a legitimate pipe. And very, very like cynical, but not in like a negative way, in like a very humorous, positive way. And he really like put his touch on the album. I think something I've thought about is how the album is like vignettes of rock and roll. Often is how we thought of it. Like it's more like you're listening to a radio station. It's not like an album that's all like this kind of song. Kind of switches around, but the way that he produced it, him and Adam, his engineer, makes it really feel like it fits with itself, even though some of the songs in a row will be not dissonant with each other, but just not feel like they're on the same album. But he really works some magic there, and it's also just a blast. So props to Chris.
Yeah, that's awesome. So with streaming now, since we're kind of all limited to that, Grant, that quote I'm going to get to. So you said, give 100%, or why are you doing it? And has that been harder, kind of having to now adjust to the virtual world of concerts and not being able to play off the feedback, off of the energy of the audience?
Yeah, to be honest, I'd say it's even more true because there's an egoic nature to playing to an audience where you're almost fueled by being watched and thinking more about like, am I being well received right now? And so that's part of your 100% is like, am I liked? Is this good? Do people say like, oh, look at that guy, he's so good at guitar, like all that stuff your mind just inevitably as a human.
Is that what you're thinking when you're playing?
Yeah, I'm like, but that's all out of anxiety. It's like the same thing, right? If you were confident, you wouldn't think that. You'd just be like, I know that I'm, pretty good, not great, much room to grow. But anyway, to the point, without the audience, now it's like, what is the 100%? It's more about how you feel about it, and are we putting our all into the music and to each other, and then now just being the best you can be. It's not all about being like in the 70s rock band that does a bunch of drugs and like sleeps with teenagers anymore. It's you gotta like just walk the walk, So anyway.
Yeah, and I guess like to follow up on that, like the 100% has changed so much. Like we got so used to touring, and like that's how we did it, right? Like we put out music, we toured, we sold all our shit on the road, and then we came home and we made more music, right? But now it's like, we're just like kind of navigating. Everyone's navigating how to be a musician these days, and it includes so much different stuff. Because like you said, it's like there's this connection that's lacking, right? And so it's like trying to figure out how to translate that kind of energy that goes on when there's people in a room making music together into something that feels like, at least like a similar relative to that, just through the screen, which is super weird. But I think we've started to like figure that out, in that like if you just keep it really like, casual and intimate, like, we're all like going through this together, I think that's the best route for that.
Yeah, and Henry, I like a quote that you said, which was, it's about how many smiles can you crack on the people that are listening to the music. That really like stuck out to me. And in this world of virtual concerts and not really being able to see those smiles. Like, how do you think you accomplished that via the internet?
Man, that is a good point, because I noticed that in the live streams that I miss having that audience connection when a drum fill is a full send, if you will. Like, you go off the jump and you do a heel
Double whip,
you do a double flip whip, tailpipe off the half line, and then you just land that sucker. You're like, yeah, I'm feeling this. And then you don't see folks like cracking or doing the face or anything like that, so you're like, oh. But I think it comes back to, to touch on what everybody's been talking about here, it doesn't matter what style of music I'm playing or what tempo the song is right now. It matters how in tune I am with my heart, right? It matters how in tune I am with playing like Henry. Like, I want to make myself smile, and I think it starts there. And if I'm able to feel that swagger in my step, then I know that it's working. So I think there's a bit in a show, like everybody has on nights and off nights, and the funny thing is usually when, as musicians, you have an off night, the other people in the band go, man, you are really on tonight. That always happens, which is so funny. So just figuring out your voice in there. And also, I will say, even just like the folks in this age of live streaming, even just making someone on the camera side or on the sound side nod or go like,
totally.
Or they're into it. Yeah, or even a magic tap, which was happening at Belltown Yacht Club. I saw the Jimmy Fallon, fever pitch, like, oh, the magic step. And it was like, even just that's what that quote's all about, right? And it's like, it's so fun. It's why I like drums.
To interject really quick, it just cracked me up because I was saying, like, imagining, like, do these people think I'm good at guitar, all that, like, egoic stuff, that because you're, like, projecting onto the audience. But I was imagining when you were saying, like, crack a smile, like, an audience full of Henrys all being like, yeah. Because when you're a live stream, you have no audience, like, in your head. Maybe it's just all you being like, this is good, Henry, you got it. You got it, buddy.
Great. Yeah, and it's funny, I don't know if I should go into this, but like, usually during that melody, like, there's certain songs like you might start a set with to get your groove on, and then the rest of it you don't have to think so much. But like, a show is interesting because you go from like living your life and having a conversation at a conversating level to then raising the volume to this like lights, camera, action, like high speed, high velocity. And to go from like a casual backstage, like, hey, is there another LaCroix in there? To like, the fast stuff, you're like, wow,
Then you get back off and you're like, is there any salami?
Right, like, has the meat been out for too long, or
where's the hummus?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you guys go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just gonna ask you actually, because your shows are so imbued with this kind of back and forth with the audience, right? And I'm curious as to, like, I don't know, your feelings with like doing this show,
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, any chance to be able to play feels really good. I miss the crowd, and like the participation, and it just felt like, when you're at our show, you're a member of our family for the 45 minutes that we're playing, or 30 minutes we're playing, or whatever. And I really miss that. But of course, just like loving music in general, it's like, well, at least we get to play. There's always that. But it does, if I'm being like 100% honest, like it's I'm down about it.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
No doubt.
I miss it, and I'm just hoping that this all ends sooner than later. I genuinely don't think it will.
Yeah.
No.
You know, if I'm also being honest about that.
Wow.
But it's also just a relief to be able to do this and then like, hey, outside world friends, oh my goodness, how are you guys doing? And then to remember that, oh, we're not the only ones going through this. You guys also can't play in front of a crowd or this and that. But with that being said, I actually also wanted to ask, do you guys remember your last show, like crowd show before lockdown happened, before everything shifted to like empty theaters and
Yeah.
New Haven, Connecticut.
Oh, really?
March of 2020.
Wow.
Is it? Wow.
March 3rd
That's
or March
right.
6th or
Great
something.
pizza in New Haven. If you guys didn't know, New Haven is like the pizza capital of the state.
If you want a
Oh,
solid
really?
slice, you hop over to New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah, there's Sally's, there's Modern, and there's Pepe's.
Yeah, Frank Pepe's.
Frank
Oh.
Pepe's. Those are the three competing top pizza places, but apparently Sally's is the best. We ate at
Oh.
Modern, made good friends with the owner's daughter, who's
Oh,
a
yeah.
DJ.
nice.
But anyway, we played at
Sally's.
Yeah.
We didn't play at Yale.
Not a sponsor.
We didn't play at Yale because they're New Haven, Yale. We played at New Haven
University? It
University.
was like the city university, like Seattle, or I guess Seattle used like private. Anyway, it was New Haven University.
It was weird because it was like COVID was kind of like people didn't really know if it was gonna take off, so it was still fine to travel. It was like literally right before it took off.
Wow.
So it was still
Yeah.
a little uncomfortable to be there. I think on our minds we're all like, oh.
Yeah, the plane ride was super empty. And then I remember that even in the crowd, I mean, the room was not packed. It was a big concert hall. Like, it was like a VFW hall or something like that, you know, and I feel like people were socially distancing even then, but in like there's not that many people here kind of a way.
Yeah.
It was fun though.
Yeah.
It was super fun. Yeah. Oh, geez.
College
Yeah.
students are fun.
The backline drum kit was awesome. Thanks, Richie.
Richie was cool.
Richie was cool. We played
Ginger
a lot of
guy.
yeah. We played a lot of our favorite card game called.
Oh, yeah.
I've been Shatheed. Yeah, it's called shit. It's called Shithead.
Oh.
Yeah, but we it's like, you know what's tough is when you have a card game named Shithead and you're like, I want to teach this to the kids that I
To a
am.
Yeah.
4-year-old,
So
you
it's
know.
Satheed at that.
Yeah. Or I call it amoeba brain.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
How'd that come?
I just wanted something that was not. I just made it up. Yeah. Amoeba brain.
Yeah, that's funny though. I remember like the first show that I thought of was the KEXP International Clash Day.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That was
oh,
great.
Yeah.
That was super fun.
Because
Yeah.
we really did not. I think we played like 3 or 4 shows at the beginning of this year, and then but that was another memorable one.
What's next for you guys? That's a loaded question. I know. We're all like, what the hell's next?
Probably Doom.
Doom?
Doom. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But other than Doom, I mean, obviously, I played the video game Doom Eternal lately, which was actually very sweet.
Okay.
So I'll probably play it again. So that'll be next for me because it's
So
a great
literally
game.
Doom.
Literally
the video
Doom will be
game.
next. But to answer the actual question, we're just working on more music. That's about it.
Yeah.
Cool. And so you guys are still like rehearsing together?
We didn't for a while because it just didn't feel safe. Even though we'd mostly been in the same area, we quarantined for a bit, so then we didn't know. But then a certain amount of time went by, and we were like, yeah, let's rehearse. We've all been safe enough that we felt comfortable with it. And so we've just been kind of brainstorming, getting ideas together. Lots of good opportunities are coming our way, actually, surprisingly, during here. I think a lot of people are trying to keep things going.
Yeah.
So we have like some recording opportunities, doing demos.
Nice.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about The Shadow the other day, and I was like, I'm kind of okay with just like, just letting it go like a bird into the breeze, like, because we released it and it's out. But I think, we've been taking this time to really like hone in on some new material for the next album, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, just growing and changing.
Yeah, that's, I think, to agree with Gianni on personal growth too in these times. Each of us as a band, but also on our own. I think it's also, I think, helped our band rapport, you know? It's like touring forever, it gets a little hard. I mean, I'm sure you know having your brother, who's obviously like your best friend, but a brother is like, you know, it's not all like roses, I imagine.
You know, it's one of those things where when we started to kind of like get busier and get more things, I was like, yeah, I think I can only do this with someone I'm related to.
Oh, yeah. It's hard. Yeah, we definitely had our ups and downs, but I think this time might end up being ironically positive because we have some time to work on ourselves so that when we do come back together, we're more formed and we haven't been in a van together forever. Like, yeah, there's more to be said about that.
And maybe like a little more like focused and a little less egoic, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a big thing these days as musicians is understanding our like responsibility to society, right? And for us so far, it's been like doing these benefit shows like that are, you know, benefiting organizations, whether it's for like Neva, who's like keeping music venues alive, or whether it's like, you know, Nurturing Roots Farm, who's setting up like farming and education for communities of color and stuff. And it's like, you know, giving back to these communities provides a bit more focus and a bit less like, this is all about me, right? And I think that's kind of more what's coming up next as well.
Yeah.
Is figuring out how best to go about doing that.
And I'm glad you said that. And I kind of want to add to what you said about, you know, in artists' responsibility to society, but also, and I'm speaking to the folks watching, there is a responsibility for society to protect these artists who typically get hit the hardest and also get saved is the wrong word, but who also get, you know, the art community is sort of last on the list to recover from things like this. So I think also society has a responsibility to take care of its artists who reflect the times, who we look at artistry throughout history. It's the most accurate American history we have because our textbooks lie to us. And so I think also society has a responsibility to take care of arts culture and bands like Naked Giants. And so please support artists. And you guys, thank you so much. You guys are awesome. The Shadow is amazing. Get it. I freaking love that song. High School, I Don't Like Them. I needed that song in high school. Thanks, you guys. Gianni, Henry, Grant. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eva.
And yeah, I hope things just keep, I know it's hard right now, but I just hope things just keep doing that for you guys. And there are people out there who want to preserve what artists are doing and preserve mediums for artists, like Fisherman's Village, which is great. So thanks, guys, for being here and talking with me. I miss you guys.
Thank you.
We'll have a big hug someday.
I know, someday. We'll put it on a calendar.
Yeah.
Schedule it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Eva.